Marriage. It is usually glorious the first year during the honeymoon phase, but can be a little bit more tough sledding at times down the road. What are some of the keys to a successful marriage? To discuss this more in detail is Pastor Kelly Stickel, lead pastor for My Victory Church in Lethbridge. Welcome back to BCN, Pastor
It's great
Kelly.
to be with you, Hal.
Okay, let's talk about sometimes how the spark fades in a marriage. Sometimes, as guys, we don't really notice the signs. Why do you think that is? Where the women do?
Yeah, it's true. The women, a lot of the studies show that the women are the first to notice that something's not right. In fact, when most counselors survey out of 10, how would you rate your marriage? They say the average response is that women will rate their marriage 4 points lower. That's the average, 4 points lower than their husbands do, and that's because men and women. This is a news flash for everybody, but are quite different, and women.
Well, men are from Mars, women are from Venus.
Yes,
we figured that out long ago.
We're quite different. Women are. Their value is they value highest security, and so because they value security, they want that kind of interdependence. Where men value significance, because they value significance, they are more independent. And so in women, women want this interaction. They want feedback back and forth. They want interdependence in the relationship. They're more dependent on the relationship. That where men are naturally more independent. And so typically, this is why there's a big difference, because women are more, and guys are kind of oblivious to this whole thing. We're happy. We got fed. We got our laundry done. Everything's good. We're typically more satisfied that way, and we aren't the first to pick up on something not going as well.
So, Pastor, how important is that emotional connection with our spouse?
It's vital. It's very, very important. I think a lot of times, again, us guys, we want to be, because we value on significance, we want the more practical stuff, less emotional stuff, and generally less emotional. But it's important in our relationships to be aware of the emotions of everything, but at the same time not be completely dependent on emotions, because emotions are fickle. They come and they go. They're up and they're down, and so it's important to value that emotions and to pay attention to the emotions, but not to be dependent on them.
It's important to keep it maybe at an even keel for consistency.
I think there's wisdom in that, but at the same time, yeah, it's okay to flow with the emotions and to create the spark and generate the spark and have the ups and make sure that we're not too high with the highs and too low with the lows. But you don't want to be even keeled. It can get boring pretty quickly too. So you don't want to get too even keeled, I don't think.
So what happens when the spark is gone and you want to recreate some of that magic from earlier on in the marriage? What does a couple need to do?
Well, I think there's a misconception that love is a feeling. I think a lot of people assume it. They might not come out and just say that, or maybe they will. But I think love is, according to the Bible in 1 Corinthians 13, when he says love is patient, love is kind. I don't know about you, but I've never experienced the feeling of patience ever. Patience is an action. There's an action that comes to it, and love is an action first, and the feelings typically follow. So if the feeling starts to fade and we see that problem, I'd highly encourage people to do the acts, to acts of love. Show patience, act it out. Show kindness.
How about do the dishes? That's
do
an
the
act of
dishes,
love, right?
yeah. Act, service, yeah. Serve them and serve the other, and you'll find that over time the feelings will follow those actions.
As a husband, how do you respond when your wife says, "Honey, we seriously need to talk about this marriage"?
You listen.
So you turn off that football game, turn off the hockey game.
Well, you push pause on the football game.
Oh, I'm sorry, just pause?
Yeah, PVR. I don't know. I'm just kidding.
Okay.
But no, definitely you got to stop and listen. The general rule is if she's saying it, that's not the first time she's thought it or felt it. And if she's saying it now, she's come out and done that and been bold enough to speak it out, it's probably something that she's pondered for a while. So, husbands, pay attention. It's vital, and listen to what she has to say, and don't overreact or don't dismiss what's going on. Pay attention, listen to what's going on, listen past what's just the emotion at the time or just the words at the time, and going, okay, is there something I can do? Is there something I can help? And what do I need to change, and be willing to change.
So if it's a concern to our wife, our spouse, it should really be of concern to us
It
as
absolutely,
men, right?
It has to be. If it's a concern to her, it has to be a concern to us for sure.
How about communication? How vital is that to a successful marriage?
I would say that probably 90% of the counseling that I do with couples, marriage counseling, is issues over communication or miscommunication that happens in marriage. I think that's why, the Five Love Languages book was such a big hit and such, has become a phenomenon basically, is because it's an issue of communication and how we can miscommunicate so easily. We're two different people, two different backgrounds, two different expectations coming into this relationships, two different baggages that come into this thing, and so we tend to communicate the way that we've expected it or the way that we saw it growing up, and she's communicating the way that she expected it and what she saw, and we can be two ships in the night, and we can easily miscommunicate. And I think it's amazing to me how couples don't, if there's a problem with communication, go get coaching. Go find a pastor, go find a counselor, go get coaching. The best, athletes have trainers and coaches. Even the professionals have personal coaches and personal trainers. They're the best, and yet they still need coaching. So in our marriages, it's the most important relationship, in life, and so we should get coaching, and if we need help in coaching and communication, that's probably the best place to go.
A lot of times, Pastor Kelly, in marriages, people get very busy with the kids, taking them to piano, to hockey, drama class, whatever, right? French horn lessons. And sometimes the marriage suffers as a result. So where do we draw that line, making sure we always make time for our spouse? Maybe go on date nights.
Yes, that's a great example. Is you have to schedule, date nights or time alone. It's security for the kids. We put the kids first, but that creates insecurity in the kids. Because they want to see if there's security between mom and dad, that's going to create security in them as well. And so they like it when they see us making a priority of one another. So it's really vital. Again, putting the action. I think scheduling a date night or a date day or a date breakfast or something on a weekly basis and saying you're the priority, this relationship's the priority is vital.
How important is it when you get into a conversation which sometimes escalates into an argument in front of the kids that we make sure we don't put down the other spouse, that we support and lift up the other spouse and not maybe disagree and argue with them in front of the children, maybe take them aside, his or her like spouse, and speaking privately, not in front of the children? How important is that to a healthy marriage?
It's very important, and when couples are together, I always encourage them, don't fight or don't escalate the fight in front of the kids. I think it's okay sometimes to disagree in front of the kids because you show kids how to interact and how to disagree with
problem
honor,
solve, right?
and problem solve and with honor and respect. But if it's escalating, general rules, don't fight in front of the kids. And then I really encourage those, people who are separated. It's very important, hugely important, that you don't put down your spouse to the kids or in front of the kids, or don't talk disrespectfully about your spouse. The kids, to sway the kids, to make the kids on your side, because inevitably it's going to come back and bite you really, really hard. And the kids, that's meant to the kids, that's mom, that's dad, and they'll hold the resentment against you if you do that, if you disrespect the other.
I grew up in a broken home where my parents were divorced when I was 6, and I got to tell you, my mother and father played me against each parent, and it was hard to do.
It's really hard.
It was really difficult
hard
as a child. Like, what do I believe? My mother slamming my father slamming my mother? Like, who do I believe? Who's right here?
And you will gravitate. This is the natural case for kids. You will gravitate, especially as you get older, you'll gravitate to the one who was most respectful of the other. The one who is most disrespectful is the one that you're going to have a tough time in the relationship as you age.
So, Pastor Kelly, R-E-S-P-C-T, the Aretha Franklin classic song. How important is that in a successful marriage?
It is vital, especially, I love what Paul said in the book of Ephesians, right? Because he instructed, husbands, love your wives. So he said, you've got to cherish and love your wife. That's creating security. But then he says, wives, respect your husbands. He never told the wives to love their husbands. He says, wives, respect your husbands. And men crave that respect. If you poll most men, they'd say, would you prefer to be respected or to be loved? Most men would actually say they would prefer to be respected. And so respect is vital in a marriage, especially for a wife to a husband. Husbands need to respect their wives as well, but it's better to love and to cherish her and to make her feel secure. But respect is vital. How we talk to one another, how we treat one another, how we elevate the other one. Yeah, it's vital.
How about teaching husbands how to become more sensitive to a woman's needs? Because a lot of times as guys, we can be very insensitive. We don't realize we're insensitive.
Yeah.
You know, it's like, ah, don't worry about it, it's fine, it'll go, you know. Or even sometimes too, as guys, we want to solve problems.
Yep.
Or she doesn't want you to solve the problem necessarily. She just wants you to hear about the problem so she can air what's on her mind, right?
That's the hardest one, isn't it?
Well, because as guys, we want to solve it. It's like, it's a problem. I got the solution.
Yeah.
No, honey, I don't want you to solve it. What do you mean? I don't get it.
Yeah.
So how can we be more sensitive to our wives' needs, but not necessarily solve the problem?
Man, I do self-talk all the time. When my wife's talking, I'm going, okay. Because naturally built inside of us, all of us guys, is to fix. We want to fix. If something's broken, we want to fix.
Absolutely.
If she's broken, we want to fix. If she has a problem, we want to fix.
Kids are broken, we gotta fix it.
Yeah, we got to fix it.
Right.
And that's not what she wants. She sometimes just wants an ear to hear and to listen. And so there's many times where, as guys, you have to remember going, okay, no, I don't need to fix this. I just need to listen. And that's hard, isn't it?
Being a sounding board, right?
Yeah.
I'm glad you brought that up. Hearing and listening. What is the big difference? Sometimes she says, you heard me, but you weren't listening to me.
Yeah. The listening is, I think you've got to be able to hear her heart and listen to the words. And so there's to what she's saying. And it's hard sometimes as guys because we're in fix-it mode. And so our mind is typically going to the answer and she's not even done explaining the problem. And so one of the tips that and tricks that I teach and use myself is active listening. So I say when someone's asking you a question or when someone's telling you something, use active listening and repeat back. So what I hear you saying is, and repeat back, and then allow her to respond to that. If she says, no, that's not what I meant at all. Oh, okay, then now, okay, so what are you saying? You allow her to explain it again. So what you're saying is this. And by using active listening, it's very respectful for her because she knows that you're listening. And it really helps you get to the heart and be able to hear what the heart of the issue is.
Now, you authored a book called Mindcraft, which deals with our mindsets. Do we need to change the way we really think about our other half?
Yes, absolutely.
How so?
Well, that book is based on Proverbs 4:23, which says, Solomon says, above all else, guard your heart, for out of it flows the issues of life. So if we were to take that and apply that to our marriage, above all else, let's guard our heart of the marriage. Let's guard the culture of our marriage. Let's guard that everything is going to flow out of that. We're going to, how we feel, how we respond, how happy we are, all of that's going to flow out of that and paying attention to that. So we need to change and to pay attention to the heart of the matter and change the heart of the matter and make sure that we're constantly growing and learning. And I think it's vital in that one is renewing our minds in our marriage means I've got to read a book once in a while on marriage. I need to grow myself and improve my thinking on how I can be better as a husband and how we can make a better marriage and create a better culture and use get coaching once in a while. We call it counseling, but we as guys don't want to go to counseling because we think there's a problem, but we look at a counselor not so much as a counselor but as a coach and going to tweak me a little bit on our communication, tweak us a little bit on our thinking, and renew our minds that way. And so, yeah, we need to renew our minds. And
how about some mentors? Maybe a couple that's been married for 50 or 60 years.
Yes.
Ask them the keys to their successful marriage. Yeah. What worked for them and maybe what didn't work for them.
Yes, absolutely.
Right?
You're celebrating an anniversary coming up, right?
29 years.
29 years, yeah. Yeah, so that is, those accomplishments, that it's rare and more rare today. And so, yeah, if something's worked, let's listen and hear and more than just a lot of times, guys, well, I don't know, we just stuck it out. Well, there's something deeper there. Well, why did you stick it out? Did you have any hard times? Yeah.
Never went to bed angry.
Yeah, never went to bed angry, yeah.
Right, that's key as well. Yeah. How about when we want to become critical of our other half? Not with the kids around, but just one-on-one. Maybe some of their bad habits are finally getting to us after a while. You left the toilet seat lid up again. Mm-hmm. Isn't that the 11th commandment? Remember that toilet seat lid and keep it down, right? But sometimes as guys we forget. So we get critical of each other, of spouses. So how do we make sure we step back, look at the big picture? Is this going to be helpful to my marriage? Right. How do we do that?
I think there's how we confront, and there's a skills and that we can learn. And I've read some amazing books on how to confront with excellence, how to confront with honor. And one of the things they say is in a conversation that you feel safe, you can talk about anything. And so create an element of safety in those confrontations. So when you confront and saying, okay, toilet seat, say, you always leave the toilet seat. Well, there's a couple things I violated in that one statement. You always leave the toilet seat up, or you always leave it down. There's a couple things. When I start a sentence with you, immediately you're going to feel defensive. What
The
did I
walls
do?
go up?
The walls go up. I'm going to fight or flight. So because I feel unsafe, I'm going to fight and push back and defend, or I'm going to shut down and flight or run away from that. So instead of doing that, say, you can lead the same conversation with "I feel," and if you start the conversation with, "Hey, I feel this way when you do this, or when happens," and if I feel this, then it creates safety. We can talk about the same thing, but we still created a realm of safety, and we did the same thing. We confronted, we were critical, but we did it with respect.
One more thing I wanted to ask you, showing an act of love. How about the husband taking care of the children so the wife can go out with the girls for a girls' night out? Maybe go to a movie for dinner with the girlfriends?
Yes.
Would that help too, do you think?
That would help, and it's not babysitting; it's your kids.
That's
Yes, right. Yeah, you're just fathering. Yeah, it's
Yeah.
a part of what we do, absolutely, and it's honoring to her. I don't know if you've ever done this where your wife's gone away for a weekend or a week at a time, and you got the kids alone. We learn a lot to going. Okay, this is a serious job she has to do. It's like an exhausting job.
Plus you get an opportunity to bond with your children, right?
Plus, you get an opportunity to bond with your children. So, yeah, give her an opportunity to do that for sure.
Kelly Stickel, lead pastor with My Victory Church here in Lethbridge. Thanks a lot for joining me again on Bridge City News.
Yeah, thanks, Hal.
On behalf of all of us here at BCN, I'm Hal Roberts. God bless and have a great night.